Hello, everybody, and welcome to the RFP Success Show. As always, I am your host, Lisa Rehurick, founder and CEO of the RFP Success Company and industry authority on RFP Success. So today we have with us Faye Farmer, and she's the Executive Director of Research and Development at Arizona State University in my current town, Tempe, Arizona. Woo! And what I love, I'm so excited to talk to Faye. She's got a team of proposal managers. And in 2018, so last year, as a team, they reviewed and developed over $750 million in proposals and concept notes to federal and corporate funding agencies. Like, wow, that is very impressive. So welcome, Faye. I'm so excited that you're here.
Thanks so much, Lisa. It's a pleasure to have this opportunity to talk to you.
Yeah, this is going to be so much fun. And before I dive in with the first question, I want to ask you, because I don't know, and I'm certain that some of my listeners don't know, what in the heck is a concept note?
Concept note. So we work in the federal space, and many times that the federal government will down select our bids. And so a concept note is to kind of establish, do you know what you're doing, and enough that will give you a green light to go to the full application. So a concept note is really just a high level understanding of what the problem is, what our proposed solution is, and then do we have the team to go forward. It's usually between 2 and 5 pages. Department of Energy does it. A couple other federal agencies in the academic space do it. It's not super common. The other term that we use is preliminary proposals.
Okay, yeah. Or RFI sometimes too. I think it sounds very similar to an RFI.
Yeah, similar. RFIs in our space are really more of like a source of sought. So it's strange to have this fun language that we speak between proposal management, right, exterior to academics, and then interior to academics. RFIs, we do have RFIs. They're more of tell us your capabilities for sure. In the concept notes, we are actually proposing a project and a solution, and really it's much more concrete than an RFI in academic senses. But again, there's always exceptions to the rule. These are very broad strokes that I'm painting here.
Well, and it's so fun to learn about it because I don't work in the academic space at all like that. And my company, we don't do anything in the federal space. And so in every area that you work in, right, we do mostly state, local, corporate kind of has corporate has their own lingo, state and local, and then federal is a whole other thing, and now academic. And you are the first academia person that we've had on the show, and so we're going to learn all sorts of things. So it's so fun. Yes. So let's kick it off by having you tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, your current role, and all that fun stuff.
For sure. Just to make it super clear to your listeners, research development is at Arizona State University. It's a little sub office within the research office, the Office of Research at Arizona State University. Every university is organized into research and academics. Those that are very high research tend to have a little bit more robust of a research office. So we're within that research office. Where ASU is a high research university. It's really turned the corner in a lot of ways, and we're now getting a world recognition for our innovation, our performance, our academics, and our faculty. So my office works with the faculty and staff who are interested in developing a research portfolio. And we really attach ourselves to the faculty as they develop ideas, which sometimes is business development. Sometimes we have to use all of these different languages. And then we attach when the faculty member has an idea about what they want to go after, what they want to propose, and then we ship it all the way through the system, internal submission to the federal agency. Federal agencies include the National Science Foundation, National Institutes of Health, Departments of Energy, Department of Education, just some examples. So we have 4 units in my office. One is competitive intelligence, also an industry borrowed term. It's people who provide actionable intelligence for leadership decisions. Another unit is focused on events, bringing people together to think outside the box for those big efforts. And then another one manages internal review of proposals for like seed grants and other things that can spur development of ideas and any kind of RFP that's limited in any way. And then finally, your favorite and mine, the proposal management team. So that's a little bit about my office. And then me personally, I've been on this mission of introducing industry standards into academia for the past 10 years or so, when I came across APMP with the Association for Proposal Management Professionals, it resonated so much with me that I started taking all of the classes and get certification. And so I've started, I was really pleased. My claim to fame is that we've got red team reviews, pink team reviews, green team reviews on campus. And we're really one of the few, if only, universities that have incorporated industry practices in how we deal with large, and quote unquote, because some of your listeners will think some of our bids are very small,
Oh.
how we incorporate our those industry practices in the process of developing a large scale proposal or initiative here at ASU.
That's interesting. Why do you think others haven't incorporated industry standards? Because it just seems like that would be somewhat easier, right, than just trying to figure it out yourself.
Right, industry reproducible,
Yeah.
known stuff. There's lots of documents. There's training on it. Well, strangely enough, I think there's a little bit of a hesitancy to make anything academic reflect any kind of industry standard, because it's industry, right? So we get paid to think big thoughts here, and so to say that you could think big thoughts in a standardized way, there's a little bit of a friction there. But I think we made an argument, because in the last 5 years, I've doubled my staff. So now we have 4 proposal managers on staff, and I'm managing them. And so I think we have made an argument. And honestly, there's a couple other certified proposal managers across campus. And we've done some presentations at APMP and then in the other organization I belong to. So it is kind of gaining more recognition.
That's very cool. So you have 4 proposal managers on your team. Mm-hmm. How many other proposal managers, you might not know this, how many other proposal managers at ASU are there in general? Because I would guess that there's a whole bunch of different divisions. Is that a correct statement?
That is a correct statement. It is a big, crazy octopus of a campus. We have 4 campuses across the Phoenix metro area and a couple satellite locations. So really the primary research is done here at the Tempe campus, or that's the primary focus of our work. We're located at the Tempe campus. There are 3 other campuses across the area. We do have at least 2 certified proposal managers across campus working in different units. And then we're actually on track to certify 2 more out in the wilderness of ASU, and then 2 more in my office. So we have 2 certified. I have 1 proposal manager who's going for practitioner. I personally satisfy the practitioner requirements. So I am a big believer in certification. Yeah. Not a lot of people recognize it here, though, because it's academia and who knows about proposals. But I feel like it standardizes our practice and how we approach it. And I think that's really important for career growth and development.
For sure. Well, and it was really interesting because APMP, again, Association of Proposal Management Professionals, we just had the big bid and proposal con, and we tried to get the Arizona chapter together for dinner, and we did. We got the Arizona chapter together for dinner, and I think there was 8 of us, and maybe there was 9, and 5 or 6 of them were from ASU, and it was really cool because they didn't all necessarily, they kind of knew each other, but there was so much they didn't know about each other, and it was really interesting and super, super smart team of people. I was very impressed with all of them.
Well, thank you. I'll take obviously I'll take credit for that. Obviously. No, I think to work in the academic environment, and probably all proposal managers everywhere, have a certain amount of innate curiosity, because they like taking ideas and repitching them for a captive audience and really it's really, that persuasive writing and trying to convince people that this is the best thing for you. And a lot of that is really easy in academia, because all of it's really amazing stuff. And especially at ASU, we have some really spectacular faculty who are really thinking outside the box and really pushing the frontier of discovery further, faster. It's amazing here. So we do have a really nice group of people here. I have not complained about my job for 10 years. I really enjoy my job.
I love that. Yeah. And I like how you said, because it's the same in any proposal, really, and whether you're responding to an RFP or not, just submitting a proposal as a company or as academia or whatever, you've got to captivate your audience, and you've got to convince them that you've got the solution or you've got what they need. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. So very well said there. Mm-hmm. So what do you find is your biggest challenge in managing a team of proposal managers? Because they're managers in their own right? And then you're managing them.
Well, we're lucky. We have a double-edged sword. We have hired some really spectacular people who have this innate curiosity, who are also innately driven. And I think that's probably true
Mm.
for a vast majority of people who are proposal managers. They know it's long nights. They know it's long weeks. And so we struggle with burnout, right? So
Yeah,
my primary concern is to make sure that people aren't, compromising on their health or their eating, sleeping habits. So we check and make sure
nice.
that regularly to make sure everybody's really healthy and doing their yoga, or if they're eating their lunches or taking walks. But then on top of that, we do formal check-ins. So I do one-on-ones. I make sure that we're tracking for professional progress. And then we're also trying to manifest this group, this community of caring about one another, recognizing we all bring different things to the table, and really trying to foster synergistic, complementary interactions. So we'll have our events person manage a group workshop, and she's very much into this team dynamic. So we're trying to do all these fun things and make sure that everybody's talking to one another. With her taking the lead, we've been really proactive about thinking about activities. So we're doing an escape room, and we've done
Fun.
dinners, and we just saw a play last week. And sometimes they're during off hours. And so we are really trying to be respectful of everybody's time and who they're bringing, and be as inclusive as possible. So everybody can bring whoever they want, and there's no obligation to attend. So some people don't like certain activities, and we want to respect that. But again, it's managing to burnout here. So we just really have to keep our fingers on the pulse of who's doing what and for how long.
That's so amazing. I know that when you and I first talked, you had told me some things that you were doing, and I was impressed then, and I'm even more impressed because I don't know that we talked about the piece where you kind of help them stay on top of their health. That can get really that can get go downhill really quickly in a proposal position. And I will tell you that, I work with a lot of companies and their proposal teams, and most everybody else in the organization is not paying attention to them. They're like, just, they seem to think that they can go to sleep and wake up and the magic elves just got everything done overnight, right? And
You
nothing.
you bring the donuts in, and you bring the pizza in, and you close the door, and everybody writes, and then just a proposal pops out at the end.
Yes,
Right?
yeah, exactly. And
Uh-huh.
so what a cool thing that you're doing there and helping them, stay on track of their health goals, because that is hugely important. It does none of us good, right, if they burn out.
Right. And that comes from my own experience, right? So as the
Yeah.
only proposal manager at ASU for several years, I was stuck in a room with 3 or 4 people eating pizza, and it did not smell good. And I will tell them,
Oh,
it is not ideal. It's not a good situation. I don't want anybody to experience that. I did it for them. It's time to break that mold. And so part of our job too is to train the faculty that about deadlines and timelines and meeting internal gates for review. And it's a very foreign concept to write in a public way for
mhm.
many faculty, because there are subject matter experts, there are technical volume leads in a lot of respects. We have to change a lot of the language because we're of service to them. So they will be
Yes.
responsible with the final product. So we're actually just help enabling our faculty to produce a proposal, as opposed to being a dedicated proposal outfit. Similarly in industry, where you're actually responsible for taking inputs and churning out a proposal. We have to make sure that we have indirect authority in a lot of ways, that we have to pour ourselves into making them successful. And that takes a whole different toll on your psyche and energy.
It really does. And if, a lot of times what I hear from, again, kind of some more traditional proposal teams is that the subject matter experts don't appreciate them. And there's always this friction between that. And when I go into companies to help them, talk about what culture, like maybe some mindset shifts or how they want to kind of shift the culture, that's one of the first things we talk about is who in the executive leadership team is helping to shape that so that everybody appreciates everybody on the team. And it sounds like you're doing that. Like you're making sure that everybody has their place and everybody respects and appreciates each other. It's not just about one or the other.
And importantly, if that doesn't happen, calling it out. Why did it
Yeah.
happen? Let's talk about it. Can we change it? Can we not? So there's certain teams that we have to work with, or we don't want to work with. And how do we take that negative energy and either put it in a box, knowing that we have to open the box every once in a while, or do we just not go back to that customer again, right? Which is
Yeah.
usually not an option.
Right.
You usually have to work with the faculty as they come. But we're, again, I say this in my other circles, is that the ASU faculty are overwhelmingly warm and supportive of us helping them, because we bring
Nice.
this standard industry practice, and we don't say that, but we have a standard feel, we have a standard engagement, and it's reassuring in a lot of ways. So our work is turning now so that the faculty are coming and saying, I need a proposal manager, I need a proposal manager. And we'll actually review the RFP with them and say, you actually don't. But I understand the need for a blanket, and we'll sit with you and walk through this RFP with you, but you have everything you need right now. And so it's transforming that people think they need us and they may not need us, which is a nice place to be. We'll still help because that's who we are, but yeah, transforming the culture. Culture is essential. And I've been really lucky to start with building the culture from this office from day one.
And it sounds like such a strong culture to begin with, like you said. Do you find, it's interesting, I don't know if you know Bruce Farrell, he's a APMP guru. She's smiling.
Oh, I love Bruce Farrell. I will, and Mike Parkinson and everybody. I like everything on LinkedIn about them. I watch all of their videos, the webinars. I've seen all of them. I am a webinar junkie. Yeah. So what were you going to say about Bruce?
Well, that's great. Both Mike Parkinson and Bruce Farrell have been on the show. And Bruce I just interviewed him yesterday. So he's maybe a week before you on the schedule.
Well,
So,
I'll have to listen to him.
And we were having a great conversation about relationship building and how important that is, and what an essential part of managing proposals, building internal relationships is. It's not just about the tactical task at hand. How do you react to that? Do you feel the same way?
Absolutely, because it's like a company here. We do have, 3,000 faculty to choose from, but of those, the ones that use us is it's probably like 50 to 100 of the faculty are familiar with our services and come to us, and then we can go to them and track them, and we have a very nice relationship. But you absolutely have to maintain that trust and relationship. And thus, I don't want burnt out people. I don't want crabby people. I want people who are service oriented, who go out and say, I really care about your project. I don't even know what you're working on, but I really care about your project. And I really want to see, like, I found this RFP for you, or can I sit in on a meeting and just listen to you? And that relationship building is huge. I would even say that internally it's hard for us because we focus so much on faculty in our office, because that's our primary client base. We have to sometimes step back and say, okay, who are we missing internally that we need to be talking to? And so just the other day, we went out to Polytech campus, which is out in East Mesa. For those of you who are listening in from elsewhere, it's in the middle of nowhere. It's like at the edge.
Suburb of Phoenix.
A suburb of Phoenix, which is in the middle of nowhere. But we went out to visit with our Teachers College compatriots there, and they're very nice. And we had lunch, and we talked about our process and what our goals were, and they are set up in a different way. But that relationship building, essential for our success. Will we work on a proposal with them? Maybe, maybe not in the next 6 months. We're not sure. But man, we were happy to go out and visit with them. And going that extra mile, I took my whole team drove out. Yeah, we got lost. We circled around, and it was perfect.
That's really great. I love something that you said there too, where you said, your team members are service oriented. So they want to help other people succeed. Like, they really want to say, hey, I am here to help support you in succeeding here, and I want to do that. And I think if the subject matter experts feel that from them, it's a whole different ballgame versus it just being you owe me this, the deadline's gone, you've passed the deadline, you've missed the deadline, whatever that looks like, can be, that's not sexy. That's not fun for anybody.
No, it's not. It's depressing. It's like, well, you just keep battering me with this information, but you're not helping me.
Exactly.
So one of the core things we created a mission and vision for our office last year, and it's about empowering faculty to pursue great ideas. And that doesn't have anything with like, I'm going to send you regular emails about deadlines. It's empowering you. It's to make you feel as though you're contributing to the world. And that's really what academia does better than anyone else. It's contributing to this knowledge base and this student training and expanding our understanding of the world. And I can hands down tell you that we are completely service oriented because we recognize that we're all here for that common goal, that common purpose, to help faculty expand what we know about today. Because we want to benefit from that expertise. We want to benefit from that discovery. And
absolutely.
I can tell you, I've tracked a lot of the proposals I've worked on, and the awards have been incredibly I have tiny little pieces on these proposals, but I will take full credit for the awards.
Yeah, heck yeah. I love that. Well, and when you've got a happy, healthy team, which is a big part of your role, right? Making sure they're happy and healthy, then, that trickles down all the way
Mhm.
down. So that's
Mhm.
beautiful. So
Mhm.
what do you say some of the biggest things that your proposal managers struggle with in their roles?
So our model is set up so that our proposal managers, we get, it's kind of like they put up the bat signal and we say, oh, and we all descend on the faculty member who wants to submit a response to an RFP. So we are constantly put into different situations. So we have to flex into these teams that may have varying experience with proposals. So some faculty have only worked on proposals that are of their own stuff. Some faculty have worked with 2 other faculty. Some faculty have worked in just one discipline, maybe a varying experience, right? And then we also have support staff. So we only do technical volume in our shop. We do technical volume, and we can help a little bit on scope of project and budget, but it's not our strength.
Okay.
And we work with project managers to come in and do the technical scoping and then budget alignment. But we have budget developers, and these budget developers are amazing human beings, and they know their business and they know their faculty, and they live in these really close relationships with their faculty. So who are we to come in and insert ourselves? Well,
Oh,
so we have to
yeah.
navigate that each and every time to navigate into these very I don't know, polar stars that are circling one another, and constantly they have to work together constantly. And so we're introducing ourselves, and we're an unknown. We have to discuss what we do. We have to scope our work. And often we can lose ourselves in jargon simply just
Mm.
because we have such experience. We have to pull ourselves out of jargon. We have to re-explain what we do. And it's not clear. When you say, I'm going to enhance your proposal so that it's compliant and compelling, that only rings true for a few people.
Oh, that is so true.
Mhm. It doesn't make sense until you actually see what we can do. So if I can show you an action
Mm.
caption, it makes sense, right? If I can show you a graphic that really drives everything in the next 4 pages, then you understand what I do. But until you actually give me the chance to show you what I can do for you, you're really going to be uh, not convinced.
Skeptical if they haven't worked
Skeptical.
with you. Right,
Hmm.
right. So do
Hmm.
you do training with your team at all? Any kind of a training to help them learn how to maneuver through those types of relationships or that type of relationship building?
And we do a lot of coaching. I don't think we do
Okay.
training so much, but we do a lot of coaching. So we do scenario planning. And just yesterday, we were running through a scenario where, so we have a draft deadline that's due on Thursday. And so what is it? Is it scenario A, and is always, the best possible option? Oh, it's beautiful. It's complete. We don't have to do anything. And all we need to do is really some glossing up where we make all the benefit statements, really seeing the themes come through, the key messages pop up. The graphics are really well aligned. Okay, so scenario A. Scenario
Does that ever
B,
happen, by the way? Do you ever
right?
get scenario?
We're working with a team who's very close to achieving that dream,
Oh,
and I'm part of it, but I don't think it has anything to do with me. But we get a team every once in a while that's right there. This is not that team. So then the second scenario is, well, it comes in and there's chunks missing, and then how are we going to address that? And then the scenario C is, it's a complete disaster and nobody's delivered anything, and so what do we do because we're 8 days from deadline? And so we do a lot of scenario planning to say, okay, so we can't just send another deadline their way. How
right.
are we going to reach out? And then so we actually reach into, what do we know of the faculty member? What is their experience level? Where are they located? We came up, and your listeners can't see this, but behind me is a board full of options because we actually scenario planned yesterday. And so we have on this board email to ask for options to assist. We have sit with the faculty member, sit with the project manager, dissect it section by section. So we're coming up with every brainstorm possible to address whatever happened today on this draft. So there's a lot of
That's
coaching.
impressive.
And then as you get better, you can flex more into teams that are of varying skill sets, right? So that's my goal, is to expose our proposal managers to as many sponsors and as many scenarios as possible so that they can then say, I flex my role, I flex my muscle, I know how to deal with that, just give me a second.
That is very impressive, because it really, again, we don't all we don't all just wake up and know how to handle difficult people or people that are different from us. I know when you and I talked, we talked a little bit about personality profiling and going through like Myers-Briggs and those. We talked about introverts versus extroverts, and we all have different pieces of that. And so to be able to help your team continue to grow and learn and understand how to work with people that are different than them, that's pretty brilliant, because not a lot of people take the time to coach or teach that internally. So
Well, one of the things I really appreciate about your particular podcast on behavioral, the behaviors of your reviewer, and forgive
yep.
me if I'm getting that wrong, but
nope, that's spot on.
It flipped it in a way that I'd never thought about it, in that writing to a person that's not in our world, we either have discipline specific expertise that it's reviewing or program specific expertise that's reviewing. Never thought of these people actually would have personalities. What? And so my brain melted at that podcast, and that's I was on. I was like, oh, I'll totally talk to Lisa. That's great.
I love it.
So it's turned out. And we were brainstorming this. In light of our discussion, I actually solicited information. I wanted to confirm that I was saying it correctly about my proposal manager. So I actually sent them a message and I said, tell me, are you introverted or extroverted? And because I'm doing this podcast, I want to make sure that I am not taking your names in vain. And so the two said introverted, and one actually said 120% introverted.
Oh, interesting.
And the other two self-identified as extrovert. So what I think is interesting is that I knew that the two people I was hiring were introverted, and I knew that they were going to balance this extroverted pair that I have. Now, the extroverted pair have been working for me for a couple of years. They know the system. They're also younger. They're millennial. The two introverts a little bit older. Okay. And so I knew the dynamic's going to shift, and it's going to be interesting. But I knew the technique was there. The interest was there. The drive was there. And so I'm actually not worried at all about the product. I'm more interested to see how can those introverted people teach the extroverted people, and vice versa, in the same scenario planning. So in scenario A, and you get this glossy draft, how does an introvert digest that information and sit and think, and then feed that information back to a group? We don't have, you and I talked about we're extroverted and we love people, and I could talk to a post if I wanted to, but for hours. But if I got a really beautiful draft, I would just scream from the rooftops. But probably not these other proposal managers. And you have to give them the space to really digest what's going on and be able to feed their information back to the proposal team in the way they find most appropriate. So when we brainstormed the scenarios, I said, well, I would do this, but I'm not interested in what I would do.
Right.
What would you do? And so we really walked through what she needed to do, and to pace through what she felt comfortable with, being new in the role, working with a faculty member who's relatively new, and what that looked like. So it's a lot of fun for me to think as an individual, let's play to your strengths and work with what you think is going to work for you, because that's the only way you're going to be successful.
Yeah. And having those team members that you can go to and say, hey, look, I'm an extrovert. I gotta frame this in a way that an introvert's going to understand it. Can you help me? Right? Because we all, human nature, approach things the way that we are, and we don't ever stop to think about that. And I think that's brilliant when your team is together, and really great to have that balance. When I was early in my career, I hired people always that were like me. And that doesn't really do you much good.
No.
For the balance, right?
Yeah. That's huge.
Yeah. So I love that you've got that balance there, and that you guys have those conversations. That is so wonderful. And this is also funny. Bruce and I had the same conversation about introvert versus extrovert. How do you think, do you assign an extrovert? Do you try to make the assignments on who's going to handle which faculty based on whether they're introvert or extrovert, or is that not even possible to do?
No, it's not possible to do. Okay. So we do it completely on workload based, and deadlines and vacations and around people's lives. So right now, though, and it's always one of the things I really value about this community is that this complexity of assignments and workloads, and figuring through what does it take to get one proposal through the chute versus another one. And I really valued those conversations in APMP circles, and it's kind of falling into this other organization that I belong to as well. but we actually, we kind of discuss it. But when we assign based on deadline, we say, these are the things you might want to consider. Like your faculty member is very new, or your faculty member is very seasoned. You might not need to work this much. You might need to work this much. And these are the things you might need to flex to, but just to be aware of them and then be cognizant as we assign the next proposal. So we're really big on scoping work, going into an engagement and saying, I will read your draft 4 times. I will give you feedback in the following ways. Now, that's malleable. But to start with those established parameters of relationship seems to work for a lot of people. And then you email it and you codify it and you say, this is my checklist. This is what I'm going to do for you. And this is what you're going to do for me. Because that's a social contract. You're going to deliver your SME piece. I'm going to read your piece and I'm going to give you feedback on the messages, or I'm going to give you feedback on the edited, grammar, fill in the blank. But that's the social contract. And the minute you bring it up, that's good. So we talk more about how they can take something from that team and build their skill set, rather than, you don't want that team because they're a disaster and you'll cry every night.
You know what? But that's a really great point. If we're constantly talking about the negative and how hard this is going to be, guess what? It's going to be hard. It's going to be a negative experience. So that's great.
Yeah.
So how do you know what to look for when you're hiring? Like, did you purposefully hire introverts? Were you looking for that? I mean, how do you kind of assess, here's what we need for our next team member?
Well, hands down, we hire on qualifications. That's the most important factor. It is a hard role to fill.
Yeah.
We have opened and closed proposal management jobs at ASU multiple times. And I was very lucky to find the couple that I did. I inherited a few. I, borrowed a few until they just stopped reporting to this other office. And we look for qualifications, but I also, second to qualifications, like the ability to translate between industry standards and academia. I don't even know if need to know too much about academia in order to work here. You do need the relationship building gene. Even if introverts have relationships too.
They do.
Right?
Yep.
It's just a different type. So you need the curiosity, you need the high drive. And we recently did the Gallup Strengths Finder, and we can talk a little bit more about this. But it turns out all 10 people in my office all have very high responsibility, surprisingly.
That's not, yep.
Right. So you're going to carry the water no matter what. So again, we managed to burn out, not to, actual work. So, but I think we look for people who have a passion for writing, a gift for editing, and maybe even can learn those and are excited to learn those. I'm pleased to say that I can count the number of proposal managers who have gone through my office and gone on to bigger and better things, that they've gotten certifications, they found their passion. Maybe they're in proposal management, maybe they're not. But we want to grow people out of this office. So I will take them and I will hire I'd say the best qualified, and expect them to stay for 1 or 2 years, because this is a dynamic environment. And if you hire younger folks, they're early career and they want to move on. So how can I put the opportunities in front of them that will make them stronger? So we do a lot of presentations, APMP presentations, and this other organization, the National Organization of Research Development Professionals. We go to those 2 conferences, we divvy them up. But I personally am committed to finding people who want to grow in the organization and want to stay with ASU. And because it's so novel here to be at the forefront of really moving research in the right direction, I am confident that the people who go through this office will be contributors long term, no matter where they are in their careers. So this is a little bit of, I'll get off my soapbox now.
No, it's so fantastic. And I'm just sitting here thinking, the world needs more leaders like you that really want to grow people, because a lot of times people just want to hold on to them because they don't want them to move on, because then it makes it harder. It makes it harder on you because now you've got to go hire new people and all of that. But to have that selflessness to say, hey, I really want to grow my team members, and if they move on, good for them. I want them to, and I'm ready for the next group of people to come in. That makes you a really great leader. So congrats.
Well, tell them that when they're mad at me.
I will.
I'm really enjoying management. I really am enjoying my people. I think we have a fantastic team right now. I think we'll have a fantastic team in the next 2 years, but we grew impossibly fast. And as a result, we've kind of used some of these tools and techniques to to stay motivated. And one of them is the Gallup Strengths. And so we've done this big event around the Gallup Strengths because ASU is a big proponent of that. And then we've done DISC. I know that you've talked about DISC and the true colors. And so there's lots of mechanisms out there to find out what makes people tick.
Yes. And it's so important because even if we think we know, that's so enlightening, right? And then your team members can really get into it to learn about each other as well. And don't you find that it teaches them how to interact with other people, with the faculty members and everything, just learning more about themselves?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So if you learn that you're the kind of person who will stay quiet through a discussion of the proposal and all the checklists and all of the things that need to get done, and then you wait until the end, and you know that that's actually a gift rather than a detriment, because I would be all the time through the meeting. If you think of that as a gift, then yeah, that's what you should be in that meeting. That should be your gift to that meeting, is to say, I do the notes at the end, and I do the recap, and I I can summarize the task really well. That is a great skill to have, and you should bring that to the table. Not every, what we struggle probably is the reproducibility between proposal managers. But the minute I say, that person is not this other person.
Yeah.
They can deliver a proposal in the same time frame and the same strength, and they can work with you, and you will be pleased with them. But you cannot treat them as the same person. They are different people, but their core deliverable remains the same. How they get there is up to them and uniquely them. And we shouldn't quash that in any way.
You should never squash that. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. This has been so wonderful, Faye. Thank you so much for being.
Thanks for the opportunity.
Yeah. If people want to get in contact with you, if they want to connect with you, how can they do that?
Oh, as a hyper-social person, you can find me on LinkedIn. I'm going to run over and see if I can write little crowd notes on Bruce Farrell's site now and going, I'm on the same podcast.
Yeah. I love it.
But I'm always interested in growing my professional network, and you're more than happy to reach out with me. And I'm hopefully part of this reinvigorated Valley of the Sun APMP chapter. I'm really excited about getting that up and going, and especially with a huge ASU presence. So thank you for your efforts there.
Yep, absolutely. And she's referring to the, here in Phoenix, the APMP chapter has been a little bit sluggish. And so we're trying to revive it. So if you are listening and you are in the Phoenix area, please join us. We would love to have more APMP members. Yeah. Faye, thank you so much. This was such a great conversation. I appreciate you being here. And your information about LinkedIn will be in the show notes. So anybody listening, make sure that you check the show notes for how to connect with her. We'll have the direct link in there for you.
Great. Thank you again, Lisa. Have a great day, everybody who's listening.
Wonderful. All right, everybody. Well, you have been listening to the RFP Success Show. Thanks for being here, and we're going to catch you again next week.